Hello, Mike Ako, and good afternoon. Mahalo for joining us today's AEN hearing. It's Friday the 15th, and we're convened in room 224, and also video conferencing, which includes audio and video of remote participants that's being streamed live on YouTube. So in the unlikely event that the hearing is cut short for whatever reason, we will reconvene on Monday, March 18th at 1:01 p.m. During AEN's time slot. And a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. And because of our 90-minute time limit for the hearing, there'll be a 2-minute time limit for all testifiers. And we shall begin with HB 1937 relating to the Department of Agriculture, appropriating funds to the Department of Ag for the preparation of an environmental impact statement to drill non-potable water wells on individual parcels at Paneva and Pahoa Ag Parks. First up is the Attorney General's office.
Good afternoon, Chair. Kelsey Nagata, Deputy Attorney General. The Department of the Attorney General respectfully opposes this bill as it is written currently. The appropriation to conduct an environmental impact statement for the drilling of the non-potable water wells on 2 specific ag parks may be subject to challenge because laws involving state lands should be general laws and not specific laws as enumerated in the Constitution. We have provided some suggested recommendations in our testimony, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Department of Ag.
Thank you, Chair. Dexter Kishida, Deputy at Department of Agriculture. The department also respectfully opposes this measure. There are a few issues with it that there are. Spending public funds for a private entity to use it, or a specific private entity, I think doesn't really follow what normally we do with these types of programs, where our irrigation systems feed multiple users. This really would be owned by the lessee while it is on public property. And in regards to the Attorney General's testimony, we really need time to figure out how we would even effectuate now, because that really changes the whole program of this, or would change the whole bill. So we respectfully oppose and request that you would give us a bit of time to figure this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dexter. Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon, Chair. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. You have a written testimony in support. We've come before this body asking for help for Paneva farmers. This one does also include folks in Pahoa also. And we just wanted to clarify that I think previous committees talked about the lands. These are public lands, and it is asking for funds for the EIS, not for the actual drilling. The farmers will pay for that part. Again, the EIS is costly and length in time. Some of our farmers don't have the resource, and we talk about the need for water. So again, we're just asking for some assistance for Paneva and Pahoa farmers, and we ask for your support for this measure. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Brian. Eric Tanoe with HFNA is in support. Jacqueline Ambrose in support, Glenn Kagamita in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on HB 1937? Okay. I got a question for DOA. So in your testimony, Dexter, you suggested that grant funding be explored. And so do you think that would be a better option in terms of implementing to a targeted grant program?
It would definitely solve our issues, and I think also fall in line with Attorney General's suggestion. So we definitely feel that would be a better, more equitable way to implement something like this, because we fully agree. Water is absolutely, and water and affordable water maybe is the better statement, absolutely necessary for our ag sector. Okay. So not opposed to the concept, just as done, few issues.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right, we shall move on to the next measure, House Bill 1896. Beginning January 1st, 2027, prohibits the manufacture, sale, offer for sale, distribution for sale, and distribution for use of any food, packaging, food serviceware, cosmetic or personal care product that contains intentionally added PFAS substances with certain exceptions. And first up is Department of Health.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Matt Carano, Department of Health, Environmental Health Services Division. We support this bill and this measure. We have a few concerns about just how enforcement would be conducted, and that bill doesn't include any resources for it, but otherwise we're very supportive of the intent of the bill.
Okay,
Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
thank you. Bernie Lau, Board of Water Supply. In support, Tina Yamaki with the Retail Merchants of Hawaii.
Not
Tina.
present on Zoom.
Thank you. Wayne Tanaka, Sierra Club, in support. Ted Boland with High Rock, in support. Jennifer Navarra with the Hawaii Environmental Change Agents Solid Waste Reduction Task Force, in support. Kavika Kahiapo, Hawaii Food Plus Policy, in support. Jennifer McPartland for Beauty Counter has comments. And then also in support is Anthony Reynoso, Ruta Jordans, Jacqueline Ambrose, B.A. McClintock, Lisa Bishop, and Sherry Pollock. Somebody here? Oh, there we go. Anthony Reynoso. You're on, Anthony.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Anthony Reynoso, and I strongly support Bill 1896 to prohibit the manufacture, sale, offer, sale, and distribution of products that contain polyfluoroalkyl substances. As time goes on, we are finally starting to realize just how detrimental these PFAS chemicals are to human health and the environment. It is necessary to take action and ensure that we stop the manufacture and sale of these products. As political members of society, it should be your top priority to protect the health of your fellow citizens and land. These forever chemicals are harming the youth, which are our future. The Center of Disease Control, the CDC, stated that PFAS contamination has the potential to affect growth, learning, and behavior of infant and older children. The CDC has also reported that it can lower the chances of getting pregnant for women and increase the risk of cancer. Not only do these chemicals affect people's health directly through packaging and cosmetics, but they also destroy the environment's health. Hawaii's ecosystem is diverse and beautiful, and that is why we must ensure to protect it and its wildlife that provides intrinsic and instrumental value. PFAS chemicals are forever chemicals that never fully break down. This means that they could move through soils and contaminate resources such as farms, drinking water sources, and build up in wildlife like the delicious mahi-mahi. I strongly believe that no one wants these chemicals in their body, so please put the health of your citizens first and ban these chemicals. Thank you for the opportunity to testify once again. And once again, I strongly encourage the committee to pass this measure. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo. Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Members, any questions?
Question.
Yes, Senator Decoy.
Department of Health, please.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Hi, thank you. Is there a federal ban right now on PFAS?
PFAS is a complicated subject because it gets regulated at different places, but as far as we understand, none that would conflict with this.
How you guys respond to what the retail merchants are saying in regards to the PFAS and the adverse impacts on them?
I think when we're providing the testimony and the direct specifics to any type of testimony by the retailers, we would have to go back and take a look more closely because at their testimony. However, in general, all of our testimony is going to be based on kind of health, right? Mm-hmm. And this understanding that PFAS, if it can be eliminated from the product chain and then ultimately eliminated into kind of the consumer space as well as where entering into our bodies, that's what we're supporting.
So you guys would also be considered the enforcing agency as well?
That's how we read it, and that's actually some of the concerns we have because it modifies HRS 321. Mm-hmm. We have programs that do similar type work, but they are not set up to address kind of this new universe of regulation.
Okay, and then what about because I understand there's a lot of products, foreign products that are shipped to Hawaii. I guess kind of like fireworks, yeah? Like how do you like catch all of that, yeah? And enforce it, and then the penalties and stuff inflicted.
So I'll kind of explain what we understand about international shipping and how it enters, because that's not the domain of the Department of Health. A lot of times that would be a type of customs border that we understand. And then I think fireworks is a totally subject that's foreign to my understanding on how it
So, but
gets
you
regulated.
know how we have the food safety, right? So federal has food safety here, and federal, it doesn't acknowledge the importation of, say, fruits and vegetables from Chile and Brazil. They don't have to meet the food safety criteria, but under the enforcing part of like how PFAS, it's kind of like, are we literally like doing, a service here, or we just not paying attention to imports that are coming in from foreign while we're trying to address, similar situation on health and safety?
Yeah, if I may answer just about our programs. So because the programs, state programs operate within the state, this could be said even about foods that get brought into us. Part of our food and drug branch does like product monitoring. Now, it's not comprehensive like any other kind of regulatory program, but that is kind of the safety net to make sure that the products that do come to us are in fact safe. So when you add this kind of new regulatory universe of PFAS, and it requires additional testing, laboratory capacity, enforcement inspection staff, those are the concerns that we brought up in our testimony, our written testimony, that while we support, again, the intent of the bill, the execution or implementation of it by the Department of Health is not something that has, we have the resources, nor was it mentioned in the bill.
And the enforcement as well.
Yeah. What would cost you to enforce this?
So initially, and it depends on the total scope, but kind of the initial work that we've done on it, it was that minimally you're looking at laboratory capacity, which includes kind of equipment and startup costs, up to about $1 million. PFAS testing is not cheap. And then it's the personnel necessary to do that. So whether it's laboratory personnel and 2 FTE, and then the regulatory, the inspectors and enforcement side, which would be initially up to about 2 FTEs. And of course, depending on the breadth of the program, which anyone can scale up and down, that would be somewhat minimum startup costs.
So like 3 million, just about.
Well,
give or take.
Approximately, we can give you a better number if you request that of us, but initially based on kind of what the
This
language
is my
said.
bill. Should add that in the committee report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is HB 2144, requiring the Department of Health to amend the definition of homemade food products and adopt certain rules regarding the sale and delivery of homemade food products. First up is Department of Health.
Afternoon, Chair Gabbard, members of the committee. How's it going? My name is Peter Oshiro. I'm the program manager for the Department of Health's Food Safety Branch. The department has reviewed the proposed SD1 version of this bill, and we support that version. However, we'd like to offer some amendments to address issues identified in that version. Just amend section 2, the definition of homemade food products. It says containing chopped tomatoes. We'd like to just change chopped to cut. And in referring to salsa, it says must be kept refrigerated at 41. We just want to add at or below 41 degrees. Section 2, we want to remove section 3 in its entirety. Existing law already allows direct sales to be conducted via the internet and common carriers, US mail and shipping. So this is intrastate shipping, right? Therefore, it's not necessary and potentially confusing to add language that would allow this practice again. Note that any interstate shipping and mailing of homemade food may be prohibited by FDA as they may deem it adulterated. Keeping section 3(1)(b) and section 3(2)(b) that refer to third-party vendors, that may give a false sense of hope to farmers or homemade food producers that a third party such as Costco, Times, Safeway, etc., would purchase their homemade food items. The current definition of approved food source, quote unquote, in the current chapter and the most current edition of the FDA Model Food Code specifically lists foods prepared in home kitchens as an unapproved food source. So even if you changed HAR or HRS to allow the practice of selling to a third-party vendor, in reality, current commercial practices may prevent such sales due to the liability associated with selling foods universally accepted as unapproved. As a practical matter, current food permit holders have no internal quality control that would allow them to purchase homemade foods and most likely would not accept the liability associated with doing so. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you, Peter. Department of Ag.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Dexter Kishida, Department of Agriculture. The department stands in our testimony with comments. On one side, economic development opportunities are great here, and we really support and see this as a way that our farming community can start off making products, but defer a lot of the food safety or all of the food safety to the comments mentioned by our co-agency Department of Health. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Gady from ADC is in support. Brian Miyamoto from the Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. You have our written testimony in support of this proposed SD1, and we're up here to say that we're very pleased that the Department of Health and the introducer of the bill, Representative Kahalo, were able to work on proposed language. In the past, the versions of the bill, we did propose intent, but we did have concerns with potentially hazardous foods. Now that has been eliminated, so we have 100% behind this bill, and we do appreciate the Department of Health's work on this to make sure that we can help expand our homemade and cottage food industries. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Ted Kafalis from Grassroot Institute has comments. Jane Tai from Hawaii Master Food Preservers in support. Elizabeth Tranquilli from Makani Mills in support. Megan Forbes from the Institute for Justice in support. Jane Tai from Hawaiian Goodness in support. Pamela Tumpap from Maui Chamber of Commerce in support. And also the following individuals are all in support: Ken Love, Glenn Kagimita, Nicole Tai, Matt Binder, Sally Stewart, Chris Bordessa, Rourke Reagan, and Robert Welch. Members, any questions?
Just one, Chair, for
Senator DeCote.
Department of Health. Hi, thank you. How many food operators you guys have that or exist that would want to obtain one permit?
You know, I really don't know what the answer to that question would be. Right now, we have 10,000 food establishments statewide, 10,000 food establishment permit holders, about 6,000 on Oahu. As far as how many potentially would want to jump into this arena, I really have no idea. Yeah, but we do have a robust homemade food operation industry already because we have allowed this since 2014. So if you're creating snacks, other cookies, breads, you can already do that at home and sell it at direct to consumers.
So you expect the size and scope of a program, what would it cost in staffing and funding?
With this version of the bill, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no permitting or registration or inspection requirements.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Next is HB 2236, relating to non-general funds, reclassifies, repeals, or abolishes certain non-general funds of the Department of Ag pursuant to the recommendations made by the auditor in the auditor's report number 23-13. Department of Ag.
Department stands in our
Okay. Tom Yamachika from the Tax Foundation of Hawaii.
On behalf of the Tax Foundation, we are going to stand on our written comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify on HB 2236? Members, any questions? Hearing none, moving on to HB 2705, requiring the Department of Ag to conduct a study on the requirements and restrictions related to the department's dispositions of non-ag parklands. First up, Department of Ag.
Thank you, Dexter Kishida, Hawaii Department of Agriculture. The department respectfully opposes this bill in a few things. One, it's an unfunded study, but also two, the department, or actually not the department, apologize. The Board of Agriculture currently has a lot of the, I'm sorry, reverse. This is the study. The department really has concerns about the lack of funding and timing for this report. The timing really would be, funding wouldn't be released till September, and we wouldn't be able to make the time frame, even if there is written funding into this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau, Brian Miyamoto.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We respectfully oppose this measure. It's much better than the original bill. And so we're questioning even the original bill and even the study. Original bill was looking to modify requirements and restrictions for non-agricultural park lands. This bill is asking for a study for non-agricultural park lands. We agree with the department. It's unfunded. It talks about highest and best use, and that's not always the case when we're talking about public agricultural lands. We absolutely want to ensure that public lands are used for its intended agricultural purposes for ag production. Also, flaw in this is if it is intent on looking at public agricultural lands, why only non-agricultural parks? What about our ag park lands? So we also agree that the Board of Agriculture does have the authority that was asked in the original bill and what the study seeks to do. They do have the authority for appropriate requirements and restrictions for leases. So it's within the Board of Agriculture's purview already. So again, we're not sure where this bill is coming from. It's an incomplete bill. If we're looking at ag lands, why not all public ag lands? And there was a bill earlier asking for this exact thing, looking at all state lands and their agricultural value. So again, we are in opposition. Thank you for hearing our testimony.
Thank you. Jacqueline Ambrose is in support. Anyone else wishing to testify on 2705, HB 2705? Members, any questions? Okay, let's take a brief recess for decision making. Okay, reconvening the 1 p.m. AEN agenda for decision making, starting off with HB 1937, appropriating funds to the Department of Ag for EIS to drill non-potable water wells on individual parcels of Paneva and Pahoa. So the recommendation of the chair will be to defer this indefinitely due to the department's concerns regarding funding private entities with public funds, and to allow the department time to discuss with the AG's office regarding legality. Moving on to HB 1896. Okay, 1896. The chair's recommendation would be to pass with an amendment to change the effective date to January 1st, 2027, which was the original date in the bill. This is the bill on the PFAS. Any discussion? So to pass with amendment, so chair votes aye. Who's taking the votes for? Great. So chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation on HB 1896 is passed with amendments. Chair Gabbard votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator DeCoy.
Aye.
How about yes? Senator Waugh. Aye. Recommendation is adopted.
Great, thank you, members. HB 2144 on the value-added production of homemade food products, adopting certain rules. On this one, I want to pass this one with the proposed amendments from the Institute for Justice, and we'll also change the preamble to more accurately characterize the legislature's intent. And finally, we'll adopt the DOH's recommendation to amend Section 2 of the SD1. Any concerns or discussion? Chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation on HB
2144.
Yes, 2144 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes yes. Vice Chair is excused. Senator DeCoy. Senator DeCoy.
Oh, aye.
Okay. All vote yes. Senator Waugh.
Aye.
Recommendation is adopted.
And then moving on to 2236. 2144. Yeah, so we're adopting the proposed SD1 for 2144. Take a brief recess here. Okay, coming back, reconvening on the 1 p.m. agenda here. I've been informed that we have to retake the vote on HB 2144. We'll be adopting the proposed SD1 with the proposed amendments that I mentioned before from the Institute for Justice, changing the preamble to more accurately characterize the legislature's intent, and adopting the DOH's recommendation to amend Section 2 of the SD1. Okay, so chair votes aye. Sorry about that.
Chair's recommendation on HB 2144 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair is excused. Senator DeCoite.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Senator Waugh.
Aye.
Recommendation's adopted.
Thank you, members. And then moving on to HB 2236, reclassifying and repealing, abolishing certain non-general funds of the Department of Ag. The chair's recommendation would be to pass with an amendment to change the effective date of the measure to July 1st, 2050 to keep the conversation going on this. And then moving, okay, sorry. Any discussion? Chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation on HB 2236 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes yes. Vice Chair is excused. Senator DeCoite.
Aye.
I'll vote yes. Senator Waugh.
Aye.
Recommendation's adopted.
Thank you, members. And then finally on HB 2705, HD1, requiring the Department of Ag to conduct a study on the requirements and restrictions related to the department's dispositions of non-ag parklands. We're going to defer this indefinitely due to the DOA already having measures in place that address this measure's intent. Okay, and so that finishes off this 1 o'clock adjourn. Thank you.